think just pausing and thinking, what is it that I need? I will then be able to change the world. And that's what I wanted to do essentially.
Welcome to the Tales to Inspire podcast. Before we get started on this episode, I would like to invite you to our community so that you can hear more stories to inspire change within your life and positive change within the systems in which we live. All I want you to do is to click on the subscribe button. Your comments mean the world to us with anything that's resonated with you, and I absolutely love your support. I can't wait to go on this journey alongside you. Thank you so much for subscribing. Let's get into today's episode. Today, our bite-sized episode is with Cherelle Mitchell.
I'm Cherelle Mitchell, and this is my tale to inspire.
Right, so we are going to jump straight into our theme for your episode, which is kindness. So kindness is in everything, but I guess, what do you define as kindness?
I think for me, defining kindness is ultimately trying to bring kindness within yourself as opposed to seeking for kindness elsewhere and looking for that acceptance somewhere else. When we're talking about individuals and people and humanity, it's how you look within yourself and how you are kind to you so that you can give off the same energy that you want to receive back as well. Okay. So I think that's the way that I look at it, and it's how you can then be kind about things, the struggles, the challenges that you have and face in society, which can be really quite challenging at times. We were talking about cultural capital earlier, and I think depending on your upbringing and that nature versus nurture and how lucky we are, I think it's ultimately just knowing and accepting how to be kind to yourself.
So would you say that it's more important to be kind to yourself than it is to be kind to others?
I think it starts with being kind to yourself so that you can understand kindness as a whole and then give off that same energy. But I think you need to receive it and understand it and learn what kindness is from a child, and then learn to make sure that you've absorbed all of that great energy. And that's where we might get role models, inspirational people that have been kind to us that then allow us to understand what that looks like and feels like.
So if we look at kindness from an individual point of view, what kind of thing can you do or do you do to be kind to yourself?
I think especially my experience in terms of always wanting to be better and good enough, and I might delve into like some of my childhood history and challenges as well and hardships, is understanding what that feels like. So what I've not done for a long time is actually be kind to me. I've always put other people first because I've wanted to help other people. And we all know that saying of, you've got to put your own oxygen mask on before you help others. And I only actually realised that in 2014 when I had a massive, I want to say midlife crisis. I was only like 24 at that time. But it's ultimately going through mindfulness for me. Fitness was a journey of being kind and understanding what it is that I want, what is it that I need, and just breathing. Because I think taking that step back to kind of go back in order to move forwards was really important. And I think at that moment in 2014 was a moment that I needed help. So I did seek another counsellor. I think it was my second time getting a counsellor, understanding what it was that I needed to work on to understand my childhood, the childhood traumas, the hardships that I'd faced, and then thinking, right, I'm ready to take a step back and stop being this go in the gym, go in my academic work, go in being the best friend, the best girlfriend. It was really difficult. And I think just pausing and thinking, what is it that I need? I will then be able to change the world. And that's what I wanted to do essentially, is support other people and help other people. And that brings joy for me. But I needed to look within first.
But without having that breaking point, that 2000, I think you said 14, where it was like, that's where you had that midlife crisis or that 24-year-old crisis that you talked about. Like, without that, would you have changed anything?
I think it was other people that helped me recognise that I needed help at that point in 2014. Before that, it was everything that was surface level for me, is that I needed to do great things. I needed to be better in the gym. I needed to be better with my academic work. Even though I was getting first, I was like, right, how can I be better? I'm not good enough. And this constant theme ever since I was at school was like, it's not good enough. it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And then it just came to that point where I was like, I have now got self-destruction in like a somewhat healthy way, which was taking it out, having this relationship with the gym that was making me feel really good for a short period of time. But then I couldn't run away from that. It was like, maybe I just need to go traveling. So I went traveling. I actually conquered my fear of flying, which was a challenge at that point, because I was thinking, no, I need to be better. I need to be good at flying. Like, why am I getting so anxious on a plane? Like, I need to combat that because I want to see the world, and maybe that'll help me. And it never did. It was always me that was the problem, essentially. And I needed to go back to what it was that I was running away from. Mm-hmm. And that ultimately is, you can be kind to yourself, with the gym and being healthy and looking after yourself. But if the problem is something with your mental health and why you're feeling anxious and why you might get panic attacks, it's very much looking within to then be kind to yourself and go and get the help that you need.
So if you're looking at society as a whole and you're looking at society on a scale, mm-hmm. and you're saying one end of the scale is an unkind society, and the other end of the scale is we are living in an incredibly kind society, where do you think we are right now within this kindness scale?
On a kindness scale, and I speak to my students a lot about this because I think the world is really quite unkind. Okay. And that comes with a lot of problems depending on where you're from, who's around you, who you surround yourself with, what you're absorbed in on social media. So I think if you look at it from a negative point of view, then, on our kindness scale, then we're all the way down here and it's really unkind, and we can delve into toxic things that you might see on social media. You can also then have this law of attraction of being like, the world's against me. I haven't got that job today, or I haven't got that grade today, and so everything's just against me. And you can see the world down here in this unkind, negative, destructive society in some way. Or you can shift your mindset and be very much, and I am a big believer in law of attraction, where if you shift your mind completely and you see the world as this beautiful, harmonious, you've got a tranquil environment of, the Lake District, Wales, you've got nature on your doorstep. If you see the world in that way, that we are very lucky, we're breathing, then all it is just taking a big step back and just appreciating what's around you. And a good friend once said to me, if you're having a really crappy day, look up, the moon's still there, the sun's still shining, look at where we are right now. And I think there's those days that you wake up sometimes and you might accidentally pour your coffee down your top and you're like, I've got to change, and then all of a sudden your day's been ruined. But just shift it, it's like, okay, one thing's happened, what's the good things? Well, I put the toothpaste on my toothbrush this morning, great. So I think it's just that shift in mindset, that it depends how you look at the world. And I do think that there's an element of unkindness when you have got those hardships and challenges, and some people do need to work that little bit harder to get by every day, especially depending on your cultural capital and the economy and the opportunities that you've had in the world in terms of your education and where you live, where you're from, your experiences. If you've ever been through any form of abuse, you've then got to try that little bit harder to get through the day. So you might see the world in a more negative way, but again, it's understanding the positives. You are who you are today, having been through everything that you've been through. And I think that's really important.
If someone's unkind,
mm-hmm.
if we look at it from an individual point of view again, if someone's unkind, then what you're saying is they're not an unkind person. That what you're saying is in that moment, they may be unkind, but probably not in the place they want to be. But there's another day, there's another thing, there's another perspective to see where things can change. So you're saying that being kind or unkind isn't concrete. So if I hear you right, like if I think you're the kindest person in the world, and then tomorrow you go and run over someone's dog, and then everyone's like, I can't believe I ever believed in Cherelle and what she did.
Yeah.
Like, I thought she was the kindest person ever, and then she ran over this dog. Like, then I instantly think you're unkind. What you're saying is actually, there is a way. Kindness is an action in a moment, and it can change good or bad depending on where you're at in that moment. Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying actually, can people be concretely unkind and people be concretely kind?
I think it's definitely some sort of fluidity in the way that kindness can be interpreted or deemed as well, depending on how you're feeling that day. Sure. Yeah. But I do believe that from an individual's point of view, it's being as self-aware as possible and saying, you might seem as if you're being unkind, but it's just saying, I'm not in the right headspace to have a conversation about that, or I'm not in the right headspace to work as hard as what I usually am today, and that's okay. And some people might see that as a different way, and you might actually have different actions because you're not actually just being truthful to the person in front of you. And a lot of my research, ultimately the solution is that you just have to communicate and be honest. But that comes with being honest in yourself, and the environment needs to enable you to be vulnerable. And if that culture isn't there and the environment's not there to allow you to be vulnerable, then ultimately there's no trust. There's no room for honesty. So then how can you show that kindness? By being honest or truthful about what you're going through or how you're feeling that day, or then seeing the world as a kind place or not. Because then if you're not telling that person your problems or what you need, then they're not going to be kind to you, if that makes sense. It's almost like, oh, they don't understand me, it's not going to happen my way. And then you start resenting, this happens in the workplace quite a lot of the time, but it happens with students in schools. They're against me. And it's like, well, we're not. We actually want you to get the best education. We're here for you, but they don't understand that yet. Some students don't. Yeah. But humans, individuals, we all act the same. And it's ultimately being as self-aware as possible in order to then receive kindness and be kind.